My name is Tumi. I am known as Tumi, the bridal stylist. I'm a bridal coach and I've been in the bridal industry for just over 9 years. I first want to tell you all guys who I am and how it started and why we're getting into this show. Many of you that have been following my journey know me as working as Diamond Love Bridal, where I've been a bridal stylist for 9 years. I've also founded the Miss to Mrs. Bridal Experience, which is a platform that's really aimed at empowering women, educating women, and entertaining women that are on their journey to getting married. Why do I do this, guys? I always say, people get married, but a lot of the time when we're getting married, we prepare for the wedding. We don't necessarily prepare for the marriage itself. And I believe, and I'm very passionate about saying, as women, as couples even, we need to start making preparation the top priority before saying, let's get the dress, or let's get the rings, or let's get the flowers. And that's my objective. A lot of marriages that have failed, a lot of relationships that have failed, if you dig deep down into them, you will realize that most of them have failed due to preparation.
Hello and welcome to the Success Rate podcast. I'm Thuli Magubane and we talk about success and people's journeys to success. It's never an easy summit up the top, and people only hear about people's stories once they've reached the top, but never about the journey itself, how you've tripped, falling and rolling down, getting up and making your way back to the top. And here we want to hear some of those challenges that people encountered. What were some of the disappointments that they faced along the way? Today joining us is I call her my tweenie. We share a birthday, born on the same day, 17th of September. So she's a wonderful individual because she shares my birthday. She has actually created a name for herself as the lady to go to if you want to get married. She runs the Miss to Mrs. Workshops and coaches women how to actually move from being a Miss to a Mrs. and make sure that they have successful marriages. But what is a wedding without the dress? And so she's there to provide those as well. And the marriage and wedding business is worth billions in South Africa. So we're going to hear about how she got into this industry and how she's maneuvered and created a name for herself. Tumi, welcome.
Thank you so much, Thuli.
And I'm so happy that you were able to join us today.
Yeah, it's an honor, and I'm excited to have the conversation with you and just to unpack what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, people never think about what really goes behind the scenes in terms of the wedding industry. And I was just thinking about that. It's a huge value chain, starting from getting a venue, the catering, the flowers. I guess it goes on. And who doesn't love a wedding?
Yeah.
So what attracted you to this industry? How did you get into it?
So firstly, I am I would say a bridal coach and a bridal stylist.
Okay.
So from the styling perspective is that you come through and I sell you a wedding gown. I've been doing it for the past 13 years. And what got me into it is that when I was getting married, I realized that everybody, they've paid lobola. And once they've paid lobola, your family is super excited with you. Finally, Udumi is getting married.
Yeah.
And all they're interested in is planning the wedding. Nobody really takes a step back to say, is this woman actually, or this girl even,
Is she ready?
Is she ready? Is she ready? So that's the one part of it that got me into the business. And the second part is that I realized that the people that is the market, being black people, we are all running to stores that are not run by black people that sometimes do not even understand our journey when we're getting married, what it takes, how many weddings you're going to have. All those ceremonies that you're going to be having. So I was inspired to say, actually, I want to do this wedding dress business. However, I also want to look into the emotional and the psychological aspects of what a journey to getting married really means?
I think I'm not married yet, still aspire to be married, so I should come to you for some coaching. So it is a transition, and I think a lot of people get into it not ready.
Yeah.
You know, you've been a single person, even if you've been in a relationship with somebody, but now, you know, you say those vows in front of everybody, and hopefully it's for life. So making the transition, what do you think are some of the challenges that women face when they're transitioning from being a single woman to being somebody's wife?
I think one of the first things before you even think of the next level of being engaged is that you need to take a step back and understand who you are.
Yes.
Because when two people come together, you know, they always say you come together and you're becoming one. However, you cannot make a whole one if you are still a half and an empty half. So I always say to women, take a step back and understand who is Tumi, who am I? What do I want? And define that kind of marriage that you want.
True.
You know, women get excited by the ring. The ring is not a prize. It's not a lotto,
That's what
guys.
we want. You must put a ring on it.
You must put a ring on it. It
Yes.
really is not a prize. It's
Yeah.
a lifetime journey, and you need to be able to be clear in terms of what you want. You need to have a vision of saying, okay, this is the type of marriage that I want. Yes, he's popped the question, but does he fit into this vision? And number two, having hard, open communication. Those discussions that are hard. One being, people fail, money.
Ish.
You know, money makes the world go round. Money will make or break the relationship. I don't care who says what.
Yes.
If you're not having the hard discussions to say, Puti, we are getting married. How much do you earn? Because remember, when you are in the mjolo phase,
And people put up fronts.
people put up fronts. It's what we call the marketing phase.
Yes,
You know,
yes, yeah.
you are there to present your best self. Only when you start getting serious, you're like, oh, okay, this man has baby mamas. This man is feeding 5 other people at home. Have you had the discussion to say, how is that going to affect you guys? So it's taking the time to fully prepare yourself emotionally
Yes.
and having the hard conversations.
Sounds good. And I think it's something that, you know, when you're starry-eyed and you are swept up by the romance, you don't want to have those tough conversations with your significant other. So now let's take a step back. Tumi, the young girl growing up, did you imagine yourself being a bridal coach, a bridal stylist? Were you one of those girls who liked to play, you know, weddings and you'd put on, I don't know, a veil or not even a veil, a towel or whatever
A
else
tiara.
you could, and then a tiara, and you imagine yourself as a bride?
No, not at all. My background is marketing, so I worked a very long time in corporate, and I have a natural sense of fashion.
Yes.
So I think when you are born, there are things that come extremely natural to
yes,
you.
yeah.
And for me, when I saw wedding gowns, it's just that I'm not a designer, I can't design, but I can imagine a wedding gown and I can see a woman and I can see, okay, this is the gown that will work for this particular woman. You know, so it comes naturally and it's aligned with my purpose. So when I was a little girl, yes, I was the typical dress up kind of girl, and I would dress myself up in all sorts of things and make up my own fashion, you know. So I think from that element, that followed me.
Yes.
Not necessarily thinking it's going to be in the wedding space, but it followed me. But the second thing is that I've always wanted to work with women. I've always known that I will work
And
with
to want
women.
to work with women,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. So when you started the business, what was the biggest challenge that you encountered?
The biggest challenge that I encountered was that there was no information about the bridal industry. There was no one to go to say, okay, I am starting specifically a bridal industry.
Yes.
There's a lot of information about retail in general.
Yes.
But bridal business is an emotional business. It's not the same as you go in and you buy a t-shirt at a brand store and you walk out.
True, yeah.
Here we are working with you. It's normally a 6-month journey. You are coming in and out of the store. You are fitting the dress. People get very emotional. They start losing weight. We have tears in the store. We start canceling people. You know, so it is one of those that nobody prepared me for it. And that was the biggest challenge for it. I couldn't find the information. So part of my learnings, I mean, I remember when I started, I took a trip to China. And I was like, okay, I'm sure, you know, I'm going to find wedding gowns in China. And I arrived there and I'm like, this place is huge. And it's factory after factory after factory. So you end up buying stock that is not what you saw on paper.
Ish.
You lose money. You meet the wrong suppliers. You lose a lot of money in the beginning. And you also don't have systems in place. I think those were the two things, the research and the systems that you don't know, where do I go, who do I phone, because there's not a lot of black people that own this kind of industry, and what you are reading on is online.
True.
And you kind of having to...
And you can't meet someone and just chat to them. And,
Exactly.
And hear what their experience has been
Yes.
and let them share some lessons that they've learned
Exactly.
along the way. I want to ask you, what is the biggest myth when it comes to success?
You know what? I think success is different for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think for me, we always define success by the material things that people have accomplished.
Yes.
And every woman needs to be able to define what success means to them. And I think the biggest myth is that people think when you have the shiny car, the house, and the man, and a family that looks perfect, that you've sort of made it as a woman.
Yes.
You know, you are successful. Nowadays, we have the social media platforms. You know, people have followers, they have podcasts, and you're seeing that from a superficial level. And you're not really, you're comparing what they've achieved as your definition of success.
Yeah.
So for me, I always think for myself, success is when I know, one, who my maker is, when I can connect with myself on a deeper level, with or without the material things.
Yes.
I love a good life. I don't want to be broke. Trust me, I don't want to be broke.
Definitely, who does?
Definitely, you know, I'm your champagne girl. But that is part of the perks. But everything has to have a foundation. And for me, is understanding that without my maker, all these things can disappear. And they mean nothing.
True. Another one that I'm curious about, I think there's this perception out there that successful women can have successful marriages. Why is that?
I think that comes with how we as women have behaved. You know, I coach about people tapping into their feminine power. When you're a woman, you come with a very soft feminine side to you, which is a very powerful side.
Yes.
But we tend to want to operate in the masculine energy. And masculine means I'm hard, I'm fierce, I can do it all, I can do it by myself.
I'm badass.
I'm badass, you know. And
Yeah.
it's the energy you take to the boardroom, it's the energy you use to fight for contracts, it's the energy you use for business, it's that hard masculine energy. And we haven't understood that we can be as successful being soft and gentle. You know, a man, you can make a man very weak when you know how to speak and in what tone and in what energy you bring to the table. So a lot of the time, we think that successful women can't be successful in marriage because they tend to compete with men. And men then say, I don't want this feisty a woman, and those marriages do break because you can't have two hard masculine energies in one room or in one household.
Yes,
And that is one of the reasons why you find your corporate leaders are divorced.
Yes, yeah.
Because you can't lead in the boardroom and lead the
Lead it.
man and lead the family. You need to know when do you become the neck and who becomes the head. and at what stages.
And when to be able to interchange the roles.
Absolutely.
And I suppose it's knowing which hat to put on and when to put the
And
other.
when to put the other one on.
Yeah.
Tuli, when you see me at my house, I'm a different person. And what's worked, I mean, my husband has added to my success because he brings a different energy into my life. He brings a different structure into my life.
Yes.
And because I give him that platform, I give him that respect to direct certain things, it also grounds me, and I'm able to operate in my feminine energy and bring a different spark to the marriage.
So this journey to success, it's something very complex. And I think a lot of us don't deal enough with some of the disappointments and the rejection that we face along the way. How have you dealt with rejection and disappointment in building your brand, building your business, and I suppose yourself as a bridal coach?
You know, disappointments, failures, they always happen. They are part of the journey. I mean, I remember a few years ago, probably 8 years ago,
Yeah.
I had a team of stylists working for me, and they stole almost 300,000
Oh my God.
from the business.
Sure.
And it was one of my biggest lessons because I was very relaxed. The business was running, the business was doing well. I was traveling, I wasn't checking systems. Even if I had those systems, they were not proper systems. So, as much as people can say, hey, they did this to you, I had to sit and think, I'm a
I let
part
it
of
happen.
this. I let this happen. I'm a part of the story. So how am I going to fix so that this does not happen? I lost all that money. I had to
Sure.
start all over again. And it wasn't just the money. You must remember that now when you're defrauding brides are coming to me and say, where's my dress?
And the
So
reputation.
The reputation. So it was the financial loss and the reputation loss that I had to then rebuild the trust with people, and really take a knock. And sometimes it takes a bigger man to be you to admit, to say, I am wrong. I have failed, but I'm prepared to fall and I'm prepared to get up again. And talk about it and heal that wound, because the minute you keep on feeling guilty about it,
Yeah.
and judging yourself, you're not going to move and you're not going to get the lesson behind
That.
the experience.
And I'm just thinking, those are serious school fees that you paid. They always say when you start a business, at some point you're going to pay the school fees.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of money,
Yeah.
having lost money and recovering. So what motivates you? What keeps you going?
What keeps me going, Tuli, is that I constantly learn every day. I never say to myself, I've arrived. And I don't ever want to reach a point where I think I've arrived and
yes.
I've reached the high, the peak of the mountain. Every day I wake up, I'm like, it's a new day. What am I going to learn today?
Sure.
How am I going to motivate myself? What am I going to take out of this day? And I also center myself. I take time to make sure that I get into a day having connected with myself, having prayed, having meditated, having direction. Because that also helps you, that when you get out there and things are not going well, you have your bridezillas, you have things falling apart, we're importing, things are not arriving in South Africa, there's import duty, there's all those things that get thrown at you on a day-to-day basis. You need to be able to know what keeps me, what drives me.
Yes,
And
yeah.
for me, it's if I can get in the day, having centered myself, having prayed, and I know that I've got that armor, I can take it up. But my
Yes.
biggest motivator is that I continuously give myself the opportunity to learn, be it a podcast, an audio book, a magazine, something online. Learn, continuously learn.
I like that. So you mentioned Bridezilla. I was going to ask you a question about Bridezilla. No names mentioned. Share with us a story. What has been the worst experience you've had with the Bridezilla?
Yeah. The worst experience with the Bridezilla is You know, when people are buying a dress, they would arrive at the store. We obviously do a full-on consultation with them. And if you have a bride that comes with a huge entourage,
Oh, wow.
you have a problem. It's one of the things that I always then advocate for women to say, take 3 people maximum. Your best friend, your mom, your sister.
That's
it's enough.
it, yeah.
Now, whenever you have a bride arriving with like 5 people,
Sure.
and these 5 people are from 5 different generations. So now you have your granny, your aunt, your best friend, your young bridesmaid, you know, and they all kind of have opinions. Now you must remember your granny's day is not the same.
The fashion there was
fashion
different.
then is very
Yes,
different.
yeah.
It's not the same. And you then deliver a dress. When it arrives, the granny's like, no, but this is not what we ordered. The mother's like, no, it's fine, but I think we must add more pearls.
Oh,
This one's like, no, but I think you must have a slit.
oh my goodness.
The bride is crying. Everything it's been blamed on you. So you need to understand that it's an emotional time. Once they've taken the dress, they've gotten married. It's always a thank you afterwards.
Yeah.
Big hugs, big smiles. But you need to be patient. But we do get bridezillas because they want to look their
do
best.
people come with impossible demands?
Most times they do. But it's also
So how do you
about
move
educating.
them? Yes, move them from that point to say, yes, you have this vision of what you want to look like on your wedding day, what you want, but this is reality.
It's about education. I always say to people, I don't sell a wedding dress, I sell the experience. I sell the experience of taking you on the journey
Yes.
for you to see, okay, Thuli, you are a little bit curvaceous. You know, your sisters are out here. So if you're going to insist on a boob tube, this is what's going to happen. I'm not judging you, but I show you how it can be done, and I show you the reality of it, so that when you are now talking with me, you're like, oh, Tumi, I actually understand. Now I see myself.
Yes.
Now I can say, okay, let's move to the next step. This is what's going to be suitable. So you need to be able to educate instead of selling. You see, a business, when you just go and you say, here's a dress, sell, sell, sell. Yes, you'll make money, but you don't really make the wealth if you don't have time to educate people and empower them.
All right. Previous guests, males, I should mention, they've mentioned how marriage has actually contributed to their success. Have you seen that with your husband and other men out there?
Of course. You know, women, we want a good man.
Yes.
So we will always stand by the man. Sometimes we push them a little hard, but we push them knowing that they can reach the top. Remember, men are generally very comfortable beings. Very comfortable. So if they've reached something, they're like, okay, I've got this. I'm kind of all right. But if you've got a very ambitious wife,
Yes.
you know, even if they're a stay-at-home mom or they're raising the kids, if they're ambitious and it's in their nature, they will push, they will support, they will groom the man.
Yes.
You know, so there's
And men
always...
tend to run away from marriage. They try and avoid it as much as possible.
They
'Cause
do.
That's what they tell each other, bro. You know, you get married, it's game over.
It's not game over.
Yeah.
It's game over if you're going to be caging somebody.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be caging men, even the woman. Don't cage a man.
Yeah.
You know, don't have a household where you're competing. If he goes out, you want to go out. You know, that's why we went back to saying understanding our roles. When a man feels good, you know, I'm respected, he will do anything for you. And you will live like a queen. And you will then treat him like a king, and you will push him in the right direction to say, this is where our family can go. This is where we can go. This is what you can reach.
Yes.
Whether it be his career, he can reach the mountain because you're behind, but in a soft, loving manner.
And with the feather. But you're pushing him, even if it's with the
You're
feather.
pushing him. You are the beneficiary of that.
I like that you end up being the beneficiary.
Of course.
And another concept, I suppose this is more, I guess, going back to what people believe. You know, if you're a Christian, they say that, you know, a wife has to submit to her husband. And I think for a woman in 2023, what does submission look like?
Hey, it's a very hard one. It's one of the reasons why I have founded the Miss to Mrs. Bridal Experience,
Yes.
where we run the workshops with different speakers and different topics in preparing women for that journey, because we don't understand what submission is.
Yes.
Submission doesn't mean that you're a fool for the man. It doesn't mean that you're going to be abused.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that you take everything he says. Submission means you are going to be the neck, he is the head. You're going to allow him to lead this family so you are under him.
Yes.
Remember, your family gives you away. You don't go and fetch a man. They give you away. And you agree to this.
Yes.
And when you join this man, you're joining him and his leadership.
True.
You understand? So submission is very difficult today because we don't understand the principles of submission. It's not about somebody coming and bullying you and you are just going to be abused. No. And if a man says, submit to me, and you're doing X, Y, and he's abusive, he also doesn't understand.
Yeah, what
what
submission
is. He also doesn't understand. So that is why it's important, like I said in the beginning, for the two of you to define this marriage.
Do people do that? Do they actually come up, this is the vision we have for our marriage?
That's what we are trying to
Yeah.
give, to teach women. Have the vision. You know, Thuli, there's something, now it's going to be December, ne? Soon, Christmas
Ish,
season.
yokotiza.
Yes. Not everybody wants to do that.
Yes.
You know, I am one of those ladies that from the beginning, I made it clear to say, this is the kind of woman that I am. If there kunomsebenzi or something ekhaya, yes, I will attend there and there, but don't expect me ukuthi when they tick in the register, they're going to tick my name at every single occasion. Christmas, I would like to spend our Christmas and your Christmas. So let's define what our Christmas is going to look
is,
like.
yes.
When you have open talks, that's what we call this vision and this definition of what the marriage is about. We understand. My husband and I, we understand. There's never any arguments ukuthi ubani oya kuphi, because we've put it down to the T to say, this is how we holiday, this is how we do the kids, this is how we include family. Because remember, setting boundaries is part of it.
True.
Setting those boundaries with family, setting the boundaries with the kids and friends and all of that. It's part of the vision
True.
of how we set it. Because family can take over your marriage.
No, definitely. You know?
Yeah.
And sometimes men, especially you get those who I call mommy's boys, tend to easily be swayed by
Yes.
whatever the family
Yes.
wants to do. And I guess it becomes tough for them as well to stand up against their family and saying, this is my family and this is what we're doing as a family. This is what we've decided to do
Absolutely.
as a family. Money, you mentioned earlier, right at the beginning, that it's one of the reasons that marriages fail. And I've also seen the stats that it's actually one of the number one reason that people divorce. Why is it so difficult for us, and especially as Black people, to have honest conversations about money?
We've never been taught how to. It's as simple
We just
as that.
don't have the tools.
We don't have the tools. We've never been taught how to do it. We don't grow up like that. Your mother never used to speak about money. You probably don't know how much your father earned. You don't know how much your mother earned. So how do you begin when you're an adult?
Yeah.
It's pretty much we have to learn. We have to
Yes,
learn from
yeah.
scratch. And it's
And
hard.
that's- yes, yeah,
It's
that's-
very hard. And I always say to women, especially my single girls, I say to them, usajola naye, understand, ask him. You know, understand his debts. How much debt does this man have?
Ask to see his credit report.
Ask for his credit report. Actually, do a full-on due diligence
Yes,
on him. You know, because it's so important these days. The reason why these marriages fail is because, Thuli, you find yourself year one. Remember, you were dating then, and then now you move into a townhouse together, and then now you're sitting and doing a budget together. Now it's the first time you're doing a budget together. He doesn't know how much debt I have.
Ish.
Now I'm like, I still have a school thing to pay. I still have a car. I've got 6 credit cards, and I have no savings. And he might come and say, oh,
how many credit cards? Do you understand? But if you're having the
This one's
discussion,
for going out, this one is for shopping.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's important, I think, especially corporates, the financial industry. I would say we need to have more platforms that are educating women and men,
yes.
about just simple financial tools. And how do you carry those into marriages? How do we decide on how we buy a house? Do we rent? Do we buy? There's so much that people don't know. It's almost like we are winging it. So when and then it's too late. You're now sitting in debt. You are fighting each other, and then you end up divorcing.
So, and for you, we talked about the myth around success. For you, how do you define success?
For me, I define success when you are content with what you have accomplished. You need to be the one that is content without comparing to anybody else. Because comparison is also a killer of what we see and perceive as success. I set micro goals.
Yes.
And my micro goals, I see them as successful. If my micro goal this week was just to make it to a soccer game with my son, I've succeeded.
Yeah.
I don't define success as this big ultimate thing that you're going to reach. Yes, there are milestones that are big that I have reached that I'm proud of to say,
yeah.
From a business perspective, this is what I've achieved. From a brand perspective, this is what I've achieved. But those are part of it. But on a day-to-day, I think we need to be able to pat ourselves in the back and see our success and celebrate our success every day without waiting for the awards. Because sometimes the awards don't come. And you're thinking, I'm seeing this out there and maybe I'm not successful. Look in the mirror and actually give yourself the accolades.
I like that. Give yourself the accolades. So in terms of your parting shots, and I think I'll direct this one to other entrepreneurs. You mentioned that you paid your school fees. And when you were starting out, the importance of doing the research and all of that. So what other advice would you give to an entrepreneur who's trying to build a successful business? What are some of the things they need to make sure they actually have, bedded down in their business?
Firstly, when you're starting, you're going to work on the business, you're going to work in the business.
Yes.
Nothing should be beneath you. If you have to sweep the floor, sweep the floor. Understand that business that you're getting into fully. Connect with people that are in that space, whether you're connecting with them online, offline, everywhere you go. If you're in retail, connect with every single person that's in retail. Understand systems. Even if you can't afford those systems at that time, understand as much as possible about the industry that you're in. Also, ask for help. There's a lot of people, even friends. When you can simply say, "Yeah, you know what? I don't even know how to submit things for SARS." Don't be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Because we see you nicely put together. There's certain things. Ask, because the journey is long. The journey is lonely. You don't have a cushion of a salary at all. There's no one to run to. Even today's, when it's the 25th of every month, I still have nightmares because you have
salaries to pay.
Salaries to pay, rent to pay, all these things that you have to be paid. You still get nervous to say, oh my God, how's the cash flow going? How's this going? Continuously learn, continuously connect with other entrepreneurs, continuously network. And network with people that have made it. Don't network with people that have not done it. You need to be connecting with people that you can see, or this person knows what they're talking about, and learn from them.
Yeah.
Success copies success. Copy the other people's success. If it's worked somewhere else, it's going to work with you. So for me, I would say, and also being an entrepreneur, you have not made it.
Yeah.
If you've made a first 100,000, guys, especially black people, now we are shopping, we are this. You haven't.
We're down Diamond Walk.
We're on Diamond Walk. No, you have not made it. It's just the beginning. So be humble enough to grow the business. And you are working. You're not the boss. You are working in the business.
I like that humility.
Yes.
And I think people, when they think I'm the boss, sometimes humility goes out the window.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm calling the shots
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Tumi, thank you very much. It was interesting, and especially just learning a little bit more about the bridal industry. And I'll certainly be consulting with you. I need to move myself to Mrs. Territory as
Absolutely.
well.
We need that.
Thank you very much
It's
for
my
taking the
pleasure.
time to chat to us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for the invite.
It's only a pleasure. If you've enjoyed the conversation with Tumi and you want to hear more such conversations, make sure that you subscribe to the Success Rate podcast with Thuli Magubane. Click on the notification button so you know when new episodes are loaded. And of course, don't forget to comment. I'd like to hear about your own journey to success. And if you are married, do you think you have a successful marriage? If you're a successful Black woman, do you have a successful marriage? What is that recipe that has actually worked for you? Please make sure that you share that with us as well.